Peace, peace, fam. Welcome back to Thepreshacooka. So in this video, I want to talk about Keke Palmer. This is going to be an unpopular opinion segment. As usual, if we don't agree, feel free to put your comments, whether we agree or not, and feel free to hit the like or dislike button. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed. So Keke Palmer got in some hot water yesterday because she put out a tweet stating, quote, "Imagine if your EBT card could only work on healthy items," end quote. Okay, so a lot of people got mad and they were in their feelings and they were dragging Keke and they were calling for her to be canceled. And it was just a lot of stuff that was going on. But I want to break this tweet down because I saw that a lot of people were upset and I could understand why some people were triggered. Okay, so let's talk about both sides of the situation. On one hand, we hear people be saying they're upset about Keke because she's a celebrity and they feel like she's out of touch, and why is she speaking on EBT cards? She's trying to police the low income community or poor people. These are different arguments that I've heard. And the other argument that I've heard is, healthy food is very expensive. So there was all of these things that people were saying and that they got upset about, and basically coming to the conclusion that Keke should not be speaking on these things. Now, I want to speak on this. First of all, do we know how Keke Palmer grew up? Did Keke Palmer grow up with a silver spoon in her mouth? I personally don't know, but I kind of suspect that probably not, okay? So she could be bringing this topic up from a very real place. I know that with celebrities, they tend to be out of touch. They tend to say things, that really, really get under people's skin, because some of them probably don't even have to go to the grocery store for themselves. But I don't know why, but in this case, I don't really know that I think that about Keke Palmer. I don't know. This is just me, thinking about it. Then we have the argument about, they're policing low income families and poor people. And, you shouldn't tell people what to eat. That's absolutely true. We shouldn't tell people what to eat. But nowhere in her tweet did I hear her say, you should eat this or you should eat that. The other argument is that healthy food is expensive. So, this is what some of the people were saying. Now let's talk about this. What is healthy food? Let's read her tweet again. It says, "Imagine if your EBT card could only work on healthy items." The thing that's tripping up people here is the healthy items. What are healthy items? What is healthy food? Okay, I think there's a misconception that healthy food means you have to be eating 100% organic. Is it probably the standard for health, and should we probably be eating more organic foods? Absolutely, because that's food in its natural form. However, I'm going to tell you what my definition of healthy items are. Healthy food is. Healthy food to me is eating real food, fruits, vegetables, whole grains like rice, wheat, if you're able to eat that, beans, legumes, all of that stuff, seeds, things that come from the earth, right? And then, take it a step further. If you eat meat, eating healthy meats that you cook and prepare yourself, that preferably aren't deep fried. We can have a little fried stuff every now and then, but eating that stuff every day isn't good. I guarantee you that is way more affordable to buy than to be buying processed foods constantly. Because how many meals are you going to get out of, a box of something? How many nutrients are you going to get out of a box of something? You can buy the box of something, but what is the cost to your health later on? So, people talk about the healthy food argument, and nowhere in there did she say organic foods. She said healthy foods. Okay. And then let's break it down. The best type of food is fresh. Then they said the next best thing is frozen, and then the last is canned. There are so many options for healthy foods. If you cannot afford organic produce or organic foods, you can still get conventional foods. Their lesser counterparts are still going to be better than buying some of the things that I'm going to say in our community as Black people that we buy. Okay? So now let's go to the fact that, people are making all these arguments about, she shouldn't be speaking on this. This is very frustrating to me because I think there's still a lot of us in our community who are not honest about our current condition. Are there people who cannot afford to eat? Yes. I grew up with EBT cards at times in my childhood. And you know what? My mom I will always thank her for this. My mom, whenever we were on food stamps or the EBT card, she would always prioritize buying real food because she knows that she can make several meals out of, this chicken that I get or rice and vegetables. There were just certain things we didn't have in the house. And I don't know if maybe part of it was growing up Caribbean where, in the Caribbean, no matter how poor you are, you have some type of fruit or vegetable near you or in your yard or something like that, right? So I think part of that mentality is a little different. That don't mean there's Caribbean people who eat horrifically. So don't get me wrong. But I'm saying that my mom always prioritized that, and we didn't have a lot of money. So it's not true that all poor people, don't know how to eat healthy. There's plenty of poor people who know how to eat healthy and who know how to stretch their dollars to get the most for their family. And then there's some of us who we buy the lie that, oh, healthy eating is for white people. Healthy eating is not attainable. Again, unless you live in a food desert, okay, what is a food desert? People who don't have access to real food, to fruits and vegetables, to produce. Maybe their grocery store is the poppy store. The poppy store might not have any apples or any lettuce or kale or anything like that. So literally whatever they have at the poppy store, that's what they're going to get. So there are people in all over the world who live in food deserts, guys. So that's a real thing. But for the people who don't live in a food desert, who do have access to eating real foods, I would suggest getting the book, the Michael Pollan book. Oh, In Defense of Food. In Defense of Food is an excellent book, and that really broke it down for me about the con that the grocery stores do to get us to buy all the garbage. You should always shop the perimeter of the grocery store. What does that mean? You know how the produce section and the refrigerator section is typically against the wall, like literally on the perimeter. As you go deeper inside the aisles towards the center of the store, there's more and more crap and more junk. We should be buying less to zero of those things and more of the things that are on the perimeter of the store, which falls in the categories that I talked about before. The order of buying food is fresh first, then frozen, then canned, okay? So we can still get fruits and vegetables. There's different ways to get them. And even though I'm a big pusher of organic foods, I understand everybody can't afford that. If you have a family to feed, you can't buy organic produce. And that's a problem with our society. That is not a problem with those families. But guess what? If you are not in a food desert, you can still buy produce. You can still buy a bag of rice. There's things that we can do. And we're not honest, like I said, about the conditions in our community. High blood pressure, diabetes. There are so many things that wreak havoc on our lives. And I'm speaking mainly to Black people because that's my community. And, our health can really be changed and impacted by the food that we eat. Justin Jay was like, well, what's it going to do? Is it going to get them out of poverty? Well, guess what? Eating healthier affects your mental health. It affects your physical health. It affects your ability to think. It affects your ability to problem solve. It affects a lot of things. Okay. And so it is a disservice to, our community to make it seem like all poor people make poor choices for food. That's not true, or that it doesn't impact them. It does impact us, the way we eat. Okay, all of that stuff impacts us. And we know that, the government is not set up for Black and brown people to have access to all type of things. But you know what? We can push past that. Okay, we can push past a lot of the messages that, are pre-recorded for us to follow. And that's pretty much when I see people like Justin Jay getting up saying, we don't have access and you're shaming poor people. What you're doing is perpetuating a narrative that we can't make better decisions for ourselves because, for those of us who have less than, we can't get out of this cycle. It's deeper than that. Everybody should have access to good food. Everybody does not have access to good food, though. That is the sad situation. So I think before we turn the finger and point at Keke Palmer and try to tear her down and try to say she ain't shit and that she's out of touch, I think we really need to ask ourselves, why are we getting triggered? What are the ways that we can improve our diets? There's so many things that we can get that does not cost an arm and a leg. You don't have to buy organic food. If you can, great, more power to you. But you can certainly get some fruits and vegetables. You can get some beans, some legumes, some peas. You can do all kinds of stuff. And the next thing that I want to talk about is, if it's really that deep and we don't have, if let's say you get $20 of food stamps for the months, And you're like, I can't buy chicken and rice and vegetables with that. I can only buy a hamburger helper. Well, then we need to really start looking into gardening, guys. You know, it is not expensive to start your own garden, to buy some seeds and grow your own food. If this pandemic has taught you nothing else, please let it teach you that we have to depend on ourselves and each other. The government ain't shit. Some of us are still waiting on the second stimulus check, which I don't think you're ever going to get. That's just me saying that. But learn how to grow your own food. Don't think of gardening or growing your own food as this really crazy, big, lofty dream or goal. You can start with a couple plants. And then if you have, a good bumper crop, you can freeze that. You grow enough tomatoes, you can freeze tomatoes or you can can tomatoes. There are so many things you can do to better yourself and your family. Don't buy into these lies, that people are trying to perpetuate. You're focused on the wrong thing. Keke Palmer is not the issue. It is the systemic issue of people not having access to foods. But many of us do have access to foods. We just choose what we spend our money on, and we don't prioritize the right things. At the end of the day, everybody can do whatever they want to do with their money, whether it is cold hard cash, or it is an EBT card. I can't tell people what to buy, but I think it is ridiculous for us to not even be able to have this conversation, knowing the health issues that plague our community. So that's all I got to say about this. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Some people might be mad in their feelings, but I said what I said, and I'm not going to backpedal, because I know that I grew up in a situation where there were times that we also, were on food stamps or had to go to the food bank. So this isn't coming from an out of touch person. This is coming from a person who has recognized that I'm going to prioritize my budget to eat healthy. That's what I do. Maybe it means I get one less item of makeup. Maybe it means I can't get my nails done all the time, but guess what? I'm going to eat good, okay? Because my body is worth it, and it's the one body that I have. So, love y'all. I'll see you on the next video. Bye.